Hey everybody, this is Shannon. Hey, surprise, we have an episode coming out on Tuesday, and hey, surprise, it has a different title than normal. So we recorded this last Friday, which was 2 days after the storming of the Capitol, I suppose. And we spent way longer than we meant to talking about that. In case you couldn't tell by the length of this episode. So what we decided to do, after we finished recording, was to break up the part where we're ranting about our democracy dying and Shelby's actual story. So don't worry, Shelby's actual episode is coming out tomorrow and it's hysterical and you will love it. We just thought it would be better to split these up for a wide variety of reasons. So that is why it ends kind of abruptly. So don't be shocked by that. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so this is going to be us ranting about a lot of different things about American culture and our political realm. So if you're not interested in that, that is totally and completely fine. That's one of the reasons why we split this up. If you are interested, if you just want to hear our opinion, if you feel like you're, surrounded, like you're a blue island in a sea of red, and just want to hear somebody who maybe has your same opinion and you want to feel validated and not alone, that is what this is here for. As always, our DMs are always open if anybody, feels the need to vent about any of this. So I'm recording this Monday night as of today. The only real big change that's happened is that there's been more arrests and they introduced the articles of impeachment today. And Trump got banned from Twitter over the weekend and every other social media platform, but he really loved Twitter. I think that's it. Sorry for this is also a ramble. I'm tired from class and didn't write this down like I meant to. So, all right, y'all. Here you go.
Denmark debuts new children's TV show about a man with a huge and uncontrollable penis.
Huh? What?
I actually watched a clip of it yesterday because I was like, what? I didn't realize it was a children's show, though.
What? Yeah, I just found it. I just Googled it.
Yeah, it's called, Jan Jorgens Hopper.
John... It's John Dillermand?
But that's not how they say it.
Well, yeah, in English, that's how you would say it. It's an animation starring a man with a penis so massive and flexible it can save children from danger, fetch objects from a river, and operate as a pogo stick.
That's...
one that sounds very painful, and two...
Yeah.
What?
Okay, CNN, someone was really trying hard. Listen... The show, whose 13 episodes are available to watch on the DR Network's website, follows its titular character as he navigates an array of unexpected scenarios caused by his inexplicably huge genitalia.
Apparently, in Denmark, they are praising it as an appropriate and lighthearted way to teach children about the human anatomy, and the only people within Denmark who are, not the only, but a lot of people who are against it are in, the Danish right-wing party. Interesting.
I don't know. Europeans are way more.
That's true. They have
relaxed.
A different. Yeah.
I just
didn't realize it was a children's show because it made me think of
It looks like Robot Chicken.
It does look like Robot
even
Chicken.
The animation looks like Robot Chicken.
Because it's claymation-y.
Yeah, and Robot Chicken is not for children.
Definitely not.
You do you, Denmark.
All right.
Anyway, just thought you all should know.
Yeah, that's a good way to get all this nonsense started off.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2021.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna do the intro. So,
yeah.
Hey guys, welcome. You're listening to the Triad. I'm Shelby.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Shannon.
And I forgot, but we're spooky but sensitive.
Yes.
Okay. That's all you need to know about us.
Okay. So we should have figured this out beforehand. Do we want to talk about Wednesday now, or are we incorporating it into your story?
We are not incorporating it into my story because it is not related.
Okay.
I just picked a story that is somewhat not lighthearted, but funny, and relatively short because I figured we would be talking about.
Oh,
Gotcha.
wait, before we
America.
talk about Wednesday, Shannon, remember how I gasped like 20 minutes ago and said, I have something to tell you and
Yes.
Shelby?
Yes.
Okay, Morgan and I we're gonna try to document it, but this has happened a couple of times now where we'll both be in bed and then we hear footsteps on like the top 5 stairs.
No, thank you.
Yup, and it's right outside my door, so like it'll be like step, 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 and then nothing. It's
That is
so
a hard
freaky.
pass for me.
And it happened the other night, and Peppa sat up. She was on my legs, and she
Nope.
just like sat up, totally watching the stairs. And I sent you guys that video of her watching the stairs, didn't I?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'll send it to you.
I don't know.
Almost every
We send
single
so
night.
much stuff.
A lot happened this week.
This was a while ago. She has this chair at the bottom of the stairs in a different room, but if you look up the stairs at like a certain angle, or if you look in the hallway at a certain angle, you can see up the stairs. And sometimes at night we'll just be sitting in the living room chit-chatting, watching whatever, and she just stops. Not that she talks to us, but you know, she just like stops her nap or looking at us like we're betraying her in some way, and looks up the stairs and just stares at it for like several solid minutes.
Gross.
Without blinking or moving or blah blah blah.
That's
Did
cool.
someone just
Cats are freaky.
get newspapers.com?
Cats know. They know.
That's on the Triad thing. I'm fixing it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, anyway. So
Apparently
yeah, our
we
house
have an
is-
account with them, which I don't remember doing. But
Yeah, I don't remember that. Okay.
we didn't pay for anything.
I have a slight announcement that is old news to us, but it came out after we recorded the last 4 podcasts. But congrats to Sam from Wine and Weirdos on her engagement.
Yeah.
It happened.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my god, congrats. I'm never on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. They posted about it on their Instagram. But she got engaged. It was before Christmas. It was during Hanukkah, though, because she's Jewish. Right? Right,
Yes.
yeah. And I know it was one of the nights of Hanukkah. I don't know if it was, like, a Hanukkah thing, but I don't know. Anyway, congrats to her.
Yes.
Congrats.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah, that's... I had another announcement, but I forgot to write it down, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I technically have one, but I want to save it for when we're not talking about our democracy imploding, because it just doesn't fit the tone.
Yeah, I just wanted to get
So-
that one out before we go on
Yeah.
our rant, because
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna start with a little bit of happy.
Okay, can we talk about Wednesday now?
Yes. Let's
Okay.
do it.
Okay. So we're recording this on January 8th, which is the Friday after the day that Congress was supposed to certify the Electoral College results, which they did do, but only after the Capitol building was overrun by Trump supporter extremists who broke into the building and were armed. This has resulted, as of right now, we have 5 deaths.
Oh, there's
Um,
more. Okay.
There's 5 now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the closest thing to a coup we've ever seen in our lifetimes. And by we, I mean the 3 of us. You know, I'm not gonna... Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know
in
what
our
other
lifetimes, in our country, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought, yeah, it was, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm reading something while talking, which is not a good idea.
Well, and it's hard to
but
kind of, like, process it.
I
of, like,
meant to, like, write something out, but then I was
How
working
do we
on
talk
class
about
stuff
this?
all morning, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Plus I just didn't know, like, how we were doing this episode.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Like, I meant to ask, and then I just forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't it's just
It's a weird time in America right now, and that's all I got.
Emma
Yeah.
texted me yesterday and she's like, yeah, I had the free 7-day trial and I'm not accepting 2021. Which this literally happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we're all still kind of like processing it and figuring out like what exactly happened.
Yeah.
But
We are
it's, very not good.
So with me personally, just I have like 5 different thoughts going through my head at one time. And so I'm going to try to address them in order of what is making me the most angry.
Yes.
And one of them is there were no Antifa people leading this or involved at all.
Right.
And if you believe that, you're an idiot. I'm not going to mince words anymore. You're a complete and utter moron if you think that there were Antifa members, quote unquote, which you can't even be a member of Antifa. It's not an organization. It's an ideology.
Yeah.
It's not an organization. You cannot be a member of Antifa. Well, no, you tell them that and they're like, no, it is an organization. They'll just flat out reject what you're saying. And that's another problem. These people, like, people who believe in the conspiracy theories like this, or people who are at the riot, or people who are supporting the riot, are completely rejecting reality and substituting it for their own fantasy because they refuse to admit or accept that this person they were supporting and this ideology they were supporting has resulted in this. And it fucking pisses me off because I'm a very like reality is reality kind of a person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, this is related, I promise. So I just read, like, it's a book, it's called Columbine. Like, it is about the Columbine shooting. It's very thorough. I can't remember the author. Real quick, I'll find it. But it's an amazing book. And one of the things it does
that's
is...
the one you texted me about, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things it does is it dispels a lot of, like, myths about Columbine. And one of them is that the victim, Cassie Bryant, I think was her last name, said that she believed, that she was asked if she believed in God. She said yes, and then she was shot. That didn't happen. Like, factually, that did not happen.
And there's, like, books upon books about that specific, like,
also,
occurrence.
the book is by Dave Cullen. And so, the thing is, like, Cassie was sitting next to another victim who she ended up not being shot, and she survived, obviously, because she wasn't hurt, like, physically anyway. And then another girl who was shot up and down her arm, she did survive. She actually was the one who said, like who that happened to. She was the one who was asked, do you believe in God? Yes, shoot. But somebody misidentified her and identified her as Cassie, but it wasn't Cassie. And so these 2 girls, she also survived. These 2 girls, after Cassie's mother was planning on writing a memoir about what had happened, and she planned on including that story, and everybody knew about it, and it was just gaining all this traction. They were both like, should we come forward with this because it is not factually correct, but it's giving them comfort? And the whole time I was reading that, my thing in the brain was like, no, it's not right. You cannot do that. That is not factually what happened. I don't care if it gives you comfort. It's not what happened, and it's causing more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just an example of just like how I interpret things. And so for people to come in and just flatly reject like what actually happened just infuriates me.
Yeah.
Especially in something like this where we have photos, we have videos, we have recordings, we have internet proof that this was planned ahead of time by Trump supporters, and that it was Trump egged them on and then later basically congratulated them. He would not be doing that if these people were not his supporters, because we know how he functions.
That video that he put out was so laced with propaganda and factual inaccuracies that I wasn't even able to share it with you guys on our group chat. Like, Twitter wouldn't let me have it, and then it was taken off of Facebook.
Well, yeah, by the time I even knew it existed, it had already been taken off of all social media, so I never even actually saw it.
It's wild.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. It was so like, factually and just, it was factually wrong, and it was also still inciting violence, so...
It was propaganda. It basically said, yeah, we lost the election, but, you should go home, wink, wink, haha.
Yeah.
Was basically the gist of it.
Yeah, and it's just like, God, it just pisses me off. And I mean, I told you guys this. I had a relative on Facebook after I pointed out, like...
Oh, your posts on Facebook. I, like, stopped reading the comments because I was like, I know where these people live.
No, I didn't have any
so
bad... I didn't have any bad comments on any of mine. I just
they
had my
weren't
one...
necessarily bad. You just had some who...
I just had my one... I just had... That was my aunt who said... Because I said, don't call them protesters. They're domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
And, which... even that is being debated. That is just within my own understanding of what a domestic terrorist is. These people were domestic terrorists. Again, that's being debated. That's just my own personal spin on it.
Yes.
She said you can't paint all of them with broad strokes, just like you can't paint the BLM protesters with broad strokes. And this is the same aunt whose post my uncle told me that I need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Which she...
First of all, it's Flavor Aid.
I know, exactly. Dude, that was literally my first thought. I was just like, dude, it's fucking Flavor Aid, but I didn't say that. But...
If you're gonna be, not quoting Jim Jones, but comparing to Jim Jones, at least get the drink correct.
I can guarantee you that uncle doesn't even know exactly where that phrase comes from.
Right.
Like, he doesn't. And I mean, even on that post... she came in and defended me, and then her daughter commented. It was just like, how dare you say something like that to a family member? That's unbelievably ignorant. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like, they've never done that before.
Yeah, like, I don't have a problem with, like, necessarily what your aunt said, because, like, yes, technically correct, but also not the time for that comment.
Well, and my whole thing was, she was painting the BLM members like that over the summer, and so I could have gone a lot more scorched earth on that than I did, but I just replied and said, I'm referring to those who are breaking in and causing problems.
Yeah.
I thought that was obvious, but apparently it wasn't.
Look.
Because that is a nuanced thing. Like, there is a difference between protesting and rioting.
Oh, for sure.
But, like, me coming into it being able to make that distinction inherently, I didn't think I needed to mention it. And apparently I did. But yeah, I mean, even with the drink the Kool-Aid thing, I'm still pissed about that. I'm forever going to be pissed about that because...
Yeah, that is not okay.
How fucking dare a fucking Trump supporter tell someone else not to drink the Kool-Aid? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Because the difference between Trump supporters and everyone else are that Trump supporters are in a cult and they
literally
cannot see past the blinders that they wear. I understand that us on this podcast as, people, I don't know, we do live in kind of a liberal bubble, an echo chamber kind of, because we, everything we read and
okay, but also I live at home.
I was gonna say, Shelby doesn't.
I mean, like, when we talk to each other on this.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, for
yes.
sure,
kind
for
of
sure.
just us saying things that we all already... Ooh, I just punched my microphone.
Also, I do want to kind of say I do live at home, and my parents are home when we record half the time, so that is a lot of the reason why I tend to stay quiet. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
once I move out.
Yeah, once we move, that's not going to be a problem anymore.
I just don't want to cause problems in my own household at the moment.
Are we going to move to that house in Ireland that we were just looking at?
We better be.
That was pretty lit.
Yeah.
It was on a windswept moor. The
best.
Yeah, but just to...
That's the music capital of Ireland.
Like, we do live in a bubble, but... we were going somewhere
at the same
with that.
time,
oh, but they're in a fucking cult. Like,
yeah.
There's a difference between... there's a difference between talking about something together and just hearing the same responses over and over, and then there's a difference between, like, fucking storming the Capitol. Do you know what I mean?
Even then, there's a difference between having a discussion like we are, you know what I mean? Because, like, there are still going to be points within here that maybe we all don't completely see eye to eye on, like, how things are being characterized or what the response should be or stuff like that, but we're actually, like, thinking.
It takes critical thinking skills, okay?
Yes.
That's really all it comes down to, is it
Yeah.
takes critical thinking skills, and that's not a concept that some people have.
Yeah. And then also, even with the thing liberal bubble, I will not be able to find it. I don't even remember where I saw it. It may have been like a comment on Reddit or something, or maybe in an article. I saw this a while ago. I don't remember. Pointed out that, like, liberals really don't tend to live in a bubble. Like, we have,
No.
Liberals as a whole have a wider social circle with people outside of their own race or their religion or their gender or sex or sexual identity, whatever,
and
that
just,
conservatives do.
From, like, my own personal standpoint, when I read an article online, I then go and read multiple articles on the same thing from different sources. So I'm trying to, and not necessarily all from, like, the liberal sources. I try and see what the other side is saying, because the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Exactly.
And I know that.
Exactly.
And so I try, at least from my own personal standpoint, to not force myself to stay in that bubble. I try to see what the other side is saying, or at least a more middle ground side is saying, just so I can get a better picture of the whole situation.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like, when you do that, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're probably not coming at it with I need to disprove what this conservative article is saying. You're just saying it as a purely research standard.
Yeah, I mean,
and that can be hard to do sometimes.
I was raised on how to do research. You look at multiple articles, you look at the sources for those articles, you look at everything, you look at who said it, you look at where they got their research, and then you use your own brain to figure out what happened and what your opinion on it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like
it's basic research, honestly. And it doesn't even take that long.
That's another thing that I know it feeds into this. A lot of people on the right and to more extreme Trump supporters, and like, we're going to be making a lot of generalizations and painting people with a broad brush here. I personally don't really care about giving Trump supporters the benefit of the doubt anymore. Not that I ever really did.
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, just getting that out there now. Like, I don't really want to or can make these nuanced distinctions.
Basically, just know that we're going to say all of them, but again, we are critical thinkers. We know.
Yeah. Like,
not
we know.
everyone.
Yeah.
Okay?
But at the same
I'm
time,
well aware, but yes,
with Trump supporter, it is a little bit different because,
like, you did
as we
play
mentioned,
into this in a way, for sure.
They genuinely operate as a cult.
Yes.
And so that's part of it as well. So yes, we're going to be making generalizations. I'm sorry, but I also don't know how else to do this. So that's just what we're going to do, at least for me. So anyway, big thing that feeds into this, people on the right and Trump supporters, they don't like school. And there's a big anti-intellectualism thing.
Yeah, which is kind of scary, because that's
it's terrifying.
How a lot of, like, bad things happen.
Exactly,
and
that's
taking out the intellectuals so that people aren't questioning your political motives or moves.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, like, even what you were just saying, Shelby, like, it's basic research. Like,
yeah, but if you don't know how to
if you don't know how to do that,
it,
exactly. Or, I mean, I don't know if I brought it up on here before, but I've talked to you two about it before. Do you know how many old white men have told me that everything I know about history is invalid because I learned it at a college?
Yeah.
Like, it's that mentality. And so I'm also
because
wondering,
they're all like, well, all colleges are liberal. Okay, one, no. And two, it's
I went
because,
to school in Missouri.
Right? If they are liberal, it's because they're educators and they see more of the world.
Because liberal, they equate liberal with being bad, but liberal is actually to be equated with the word truth.
In this case, in this scenario, yes. Like,
yeah, I can't.
There's just
I was
such
say something about that,
a huge anti-intellectualism movement, and it's been around for a while now, but it's like,
that's the first move of an authoritarian government, is to take out the intellectuals so that they don't question what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, they've been doing that for years. You know, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times.
For 4 years,
I was
Shannon.
gonna say,
No,
but,
no. I mean,
But
previously.
it's funny because they also still think that America is like the height of education. We are not even remotely close to other
we're
countries.
not. We're not.
But can I say something about what you just said, Shannon? I don't think that's necessarily true, because I think for, like, the Bush era, it was more like, it wasn't anti-intellectual, it was more pro, homegrown, like, I'm a plain speaker like you, I blah blah blah, but it is completely anti-intellectual, because before it wasn't. It was like, oh, you can say your smart words, but I'm just like the average Joe.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
it has definitely changed to anti-intellectual completely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
That.
Yeah, you're right.
For sure.
Just saying.
Well, no, you're right.
I think about it a lot.
I'm right.
But like,
no, I'm not trying to like one up you. I'm just saying. I think
no.
about anti-intellectualism a lot.
Like,
it's a scary thing.
Like, this is a discussion. Like, this isn't a, you know what I mean? Like, this is a discussion. You know,
No
this isn't a
judgment.
debate.
Yeah.
And you're right. So
Yeah. Like,
when you're right, you're right.
yeah. Like, yeah. But yeah, that's a huge thing that needs to change. Is just like, guys, people who went to college aren't bad people. You know, they're just like, as a whole, like, going to college doesn't make you a bad person or a stupid
and not
person.
going to college doesn't make you a bad person either.
That's true too. I'm just going at it from that anti-intellectualism slant.
Yes, I understand.
Of educated equals bad, or educated equals liberal, which equals bad. Like, no. Like, the reason people, like, because, like, it is true that people who go to college tend to be, or let me rephrase this, people who graduate college tend to be more liberal. That's because when you go to college, you're exposed to more people who aren't inside of your little bubble. That's like,
You've
that's
left your
literally
hometown,
why. Like,
typically, and now you're seeing a greater population that is more diverse than whatever it is you came from.
Yeah.
Like, if we stayed in Freeburg our whole lives,
God,
can you fucking imagine?
God, yeah. But, like, even then, like, I didn't meet a Jewish person until college.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't any in Freeburg. You know, there was only one Muslim family that I'm aware of. You know, I can count on...
Yep, they live in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I think I can count on one hand the amount of black students we have, the amount of Hispanic, Latinx students we have. Like,
yep.
You know, and I mean, even religiously, I was super in the minority for not being religious. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just not...
Well, and even on that note, like, it's just very Catholic.
That
so it's
too.
not
It's
even
really
a broad
Catholic.
amount of religions. Like, we had one Jehovah's Witness, I think.
Yep.
And then everyone else was like UCC, right?
Pretty much.
UCC, United
Yeah.
Church of Christ.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're not Catholic, you're UCC, essentially.
And yeah. Like, that was
like
it.
a weird Baptist... I say weird. I mean, there was a... what's the word I'm looking for? A singular Baptist church.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a tiny subset that's Baptist. But
and it's like,
yeah,
are
overall,
there even people in there? Maybe not. It might just be a building.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
But, like, that's why college
can confirm
educated...
there are people there.
Yeah.
Been
like,
there. Only once, but they're all old. I can't say that they're still there.
Yeah.
Because it was a couple years ago.
Yeah. But like, that's why people who graduate college, or even people who just go to college for a little bit, maybe don't graduate, I don't fucking know, they tend to be more liberal. It's just because they meet new people.
Yeah, it's just
like, that's it. Like,
that's literally all it is. It's exposure.
That's all it is. Like, I was never, and like, to be fair, I think it is like ingrained in me to be a more liberal person, because I don't remember ever having beliefs that aligned with people on the right strictly, you know what I mean? I've always been slightly more to the left, and then it's just gotten further and further the older I've gotten. But like, I wasn't ever indoctrinated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in a history program, like, you know,
that
in
is
Missouri.
Full of, I almost said nothing. That is full of typically more conservative white male
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. And like, even then, like, I've had people tell me, like, well, because you learned it out of college, it's wrong, because it's all these liberal people telling you what to believe. And I'm like, no, they backed it up with sources. You don't know how history works.
See, my thing is I just don't understand that. I mean, okay, textbooks are created by one company that is based out of Texas.
They're not.
They
God.
write the book.
Hang on. Okay, so
Have you
they're not based
read
in Texas.
those?
They write it. I know this is really pedantic, but I do want to make that distinction.
No, you're
good. So
good.
the way they write textbooks is they write the content to appease the biggest purchaser of those textbooks.
That's right. That's
currently it is the state of Texas, which is why high school and lower history textbooks are so conservative in their facts, and why they teach certain topics certain ways is because that's how Texas wants them taught.
Sometimes they're lies. I show the
No, they're flat out
I show
lies.
that screen cap of the slavery section of a Texas history book to my students to say, look, not all books are factually accurate.
Yeah.
Because it says, like, what does it say? Something like, the black migrant workers came over from Africa. And it's like, what?
No. Yeah.
Are you stupid?
And that's the other thing, too. A lot of people who maybe didn't go to college, or even if they did, they only had to take, like, the entry-level history class. Like, if you delve into it a little bit deeper, you're getting information that contradicts what you're taught in K through 12, and so people think that it's wrong because that's what they were taught by the public education system or private or whatever. So they think that this other information is inherently wrong because it wasn't taught at a lower level. But that is not true. It's what is taught at the lower level is what's wrong. Exactly. But that just goes into the anti-intellectualism thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and if people don't actually, like, fucking read stuff or learn how to study it, because I know it sounds, what's the word I'm looking for? Condescending, I suppose. There is a right and a wrong way to study history. There just is. And I know I'm talking about history a lot, but that's just my wheelhouse, so that's what I know. There's a wrong way to do it.
It's also a subject that can very easily be misconstrued. So I don't think that you're wrong in, using it as an example every time. Because you can't, like, it doesn't.
But it's also
work like
like
that
history is one of those things where, like, the facts are the facts. Like, they just are. Like, it happened. You can't say that it didn't. I mean, you can, but you're wrong.
And the thing is, like, a lot of that nuance comes out of how people interpret those facts, and that's where a lot of the issues come from. But, I mean, you're right. At the core of it, the facts are the facts. And that's how I was with that Columbine book. The fact is, that did not happen, and we should not be perpetuating that story that she professed her belief in God before she was shot, because she fucking didn't.
Yeah.
And that's just how I am as a person. If it's correct, it's correct. If it's not, it's not. And we shouldn't be pushing something that isn't correct.
Yeah. I started to say earlier, but what it all really reminds me of, and this is like a very, very basic comparison, especially like in levels of severity, but it reminds me of when I was little. We lived in Florida, and we were part of this one church that was basically a cult. And it was like, they were part of the group of parents, essentially, that, like, you could not read Harry Potter because Harry Potter was the devil's work. And
we studied it in my Catholic school. We read the fifth book in our lit class.
And it was one of those things that, like, my mom read the books because she was like, what's the big deal? And then she read them and she was like, so basically you just have to teach your kids the difference between reality and fiction.
Yep.
And it's those same people who now do not live in reality. The ones
and I think
who...
Go ahead.
Like, the ones who were on board with banning a book because they couldn't tell the difference between fiction and reality.
That gets to another prong of this, too, is that the biggest religious group of Trump supporters are evangelicals, and they're also the ones who generally support banning books for certain types of content. And I genuinely think that's a problem. In my own opinion. Again,
I understand if you
books.
disagree with the content of a book, whether it's fiction or otherwise, but I don't think in any context should a book be banned.
No,
even if it's something like horrifying.
You can disagree with a book, but you
can disagree with it, but don't ban it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again,
like I disagree with Mein Kampf, but that doesn't mean it's been banned.
I ain't gonna burn it.
Yeah, it still needs to be available, otherwise you're doing censorship, which is another thing that drives me absolutely nuts, because people on the right are all for, like, no, we don't want big government all up in our business, but they want to control fucking everything. They want to tell women what they can do with their bodies. They want to make it so that companies don't have to give people birth control. They want to ban books for
Yeah, they
censorship.
don't want government control, but they want government control.
They want to define
everything.
marriage so that no one can.
Yeah, they want to define
Love each
marriage
other.
so that gay people can't get married. So
They're
actually,
like so scared of Big Brother controlling them, but they want the government to control literally everyone else.
yeah, it's a really, I mean, to me, it's I don't want government in my business, but I want it all up in other people's business because they're different from me.
Yeah, but in
Yeah.
the business of people who I disagree with.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that
Who
drives
I
me
want to control.
fucking nuts. Like, I don't understand how you can say that you're for a small government, but then say the government should ban abortion or ban gay marriage or ban blah, blah, blah. Like, that is a
It's
disconnect
very-
to me.
Yeah. It's very disconnected, for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't understand. And again, I think that kind of just goes into the anti-intellectualism thing in a broader sense, because that takes some great mental gymnastics to be able to justify that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would like to, if we can, so on BuzzFeed, they have like a really good timeline of everything that happened on Wednesday. I would like to go through that if we
Go
could,
for it.
just so that
Okay,
we
can we pause for 2 seconds? I'm just gonna go grab peanut butter. 'cause
Yeah, go ahead. Go get some food.
I don't feel so good.
Yeah, because I know this is a lot of ranting, but like I think we all needed to get out the ranting. And
Oh, for sure.
well, and like too, we have a lot of listeners who aren't in the US, and I want to give them a look into what we are thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them to think that we think that this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I would rather, but then I also don't think we should just like fully ignore it, because like we can't.
Yeah. We live here.
Yeah, exactly. We live here. And I think it would be wrong of us to ignore this on here.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah. And then I do also want to just sum up with like what Congress is planning on doing and arrests and stuff, which that's all still up in the air.
Yeah, I saw the
but-
FBI is like looking for people, but also I'm kind of like, but why didn't you just arrest them on the
sorry.
spot?
Well, there's a reason for that, which we
Okay.
can get into.
Cool.
Yeah.
See, this is why I like you, because you know things and I don't.
What don't we know?
No, I was just to say, so like for this part, I just want to go over like what exactly happened, at least according to this BuzzFeed article. And then, it looks correct. Like they have sources on everything that they're, backing up, and they're valid sources. I want to do that. And then I want to go through what Congress is planning on doing. And then kind of what Shelby was asking, because Shelby was like, I don't understand, because she said, while you're gone, she said like, I saw that the FBI is looking for people, but then why didn't they just arrest people on the spot? And I want to get into that and how this even was allowed to happen, because we're seeing
Are you on
evidence.
a play-by-play of how Trump mob
Yes,
got
I am.
into the Capitol?
But yeah, so I want to end it with just like there is evidence that would tend to show that Trump directed certain actors to make this happen and to prevent it from being stopped. So we're going to get into that a little bit too.
I would also like
cool,
to make
cool.
one more comment.
Yeah.
Almost none of these idiots had masks on.
No, they did not. So expect
That's fine.
COVID spikes. Yeah. Yeah, because on top of everything else, we're still in a fucking pandemic because this fucker couldn't actually do what he was supposed to fucking do. So,
Yep.
okay.
Have you guys watched that documentary I told you to watch?
Yes, we've talked about this multiple times.
Can't remember.
Yes, I have. It's
Okay, good.
infuriating.
Yes.
Yeah, in case people don't know what we're talking about, there's a documentary on Hulu called Totally Under Control, and it goes over the Trump administration's
recommend.
response to COVID-19, and it's infuriating, especially if you're an American. Because it's been almost a year! Okay, so, timeline. So yeah, I am getting this from a BuzzFeed News article called A Play-by-Play of How the Trump Mob Got Into the Capitol. It was posted today, January 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time. So.
And it's by Ben King and Claudia Kerner.
Yes, thank you. So,
also, my mouth is sounding sticky because I'm eating peanut butter.
cool.
Don't judge me.
Okay, so Trump was giving a speech at a rally, I guess. He finished speaking at 1:10 p.m., and this is all going to be Eastern time.
Finally, something
I
on
know.
our group chat that's my time. Everyone, I get so confused.
I was going to say,
Shannon sets a time, it's in Central Time, and then I sit here for an hour and I'm like, where is everybody? And it's because I'm stupid and can't figure out that time is different.
If you want,
we should just start putting, like...
Yeah, I can start putting
4,
in
3
Eastern and
Central.
Central. Yeah, I can do that if you want me to.
Please treat me like I'm watching TV in the 90s.
Okay, so, yeah.
I mean, that's what I do for myself, honestly.
Okay, so, yeah. Trump had finished speaking. Supporters were already moving from the White House over to the Capitol, which, by the way, the White House and the Capitol are 2 separate buildings, for people who don't know.
Oh my god, quick introduction. I know I've done it 40 times.
It's okay.
Millie called me during this, and I was like, Millie, are you watching the news? Have you seen what's happening? And she's like, yeah, there's something happening at Washington State. Something's happening on Washington State. And I was like,
God.
no. And she's like, oh, right. Washington, the White House.
Oh, God.
I was like, Millie!
Okay.
Anyway.
So, at about 1:15, so there have been barricades on Capitol grounds. And again, for our non-U.S. listeners, or even for U.S. listeners, because what happened on Wednesday, like, the event that these people interrupted was not supposed to be a big deal. Like, it's a routine procedure. So basically...
It's ceremonial.
Kind of. But...
No, it is.
Yeah, but... Like, I did not know that this was part of the process until this year. Like, that's how little it matters. So basically, the way the U.S. voting system works, which is fully batshit, and one of these days we will go on an actual rant about the Electoral College instead of hinting at it like we always do.
Look, that's a whole thing.
Yeah. So we do the popular vote. We do...
Which means nothing.
Which basically, yeah, it technically means nothing. The popular vote within each state helps states determine which electoral college electors, like who those electors are going to vote for. Each state has a certain amount based on many, many different things, which I don't want to get into. The electoral college voters, who are appointed through various processes, they're the ones who actually decide who the president is. Most of the time, that aligns with the popular vote. A lot of the time it doesn't, though. Which is how we got Trump in the first place. He lost the popular vote, but he won the Electoral College vote. It's all bullshit. So what was happening Wednesday was the United States Senate was certifying the Electoral College votes. They were basically just counting them. That's it. That's
They had
all this is
already
supposed to
been,
be.
like, confirmed. It's basically just them being like, yeah, we got it right.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, because all the states
We
had
can
already
count
certified.
everybody.
Yeah. All the states had already certified their own votes. Any judicial challenge lobbied by Trump had been struck down. These are fully legal votes. There is no evidence of voter fraud still. And Biden is going to be our president. Like, I cannot believe we still have to say this, but we do. So, this all was happening in the Capitol building. During this event, the Capitol building was not open to the public because duh. So, it was barricaded off. So, at approximately 1:15, the mob coming from the Trump rally pushes down a barricade on the Capitol grounds, which there is video of. And then they began occupying space that is in the process of being set up for the inauguration, which is happening in about 2 weeks. And then they were able to breach the Capitol building in several different ways. They broke down barricades. There is video, which has been so far unconfirmed, but I have seen it, and I don't see any reason why we should doubt its accuracy, at least in my own opinion, that police appear to lift barricades and allow rioters to enter the Capitol building.
Saw that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most people have. Yeah. Again,
Sus.
that has not been verified, but I also, again, don't see why we wouldn't, personally. So they were able to
This was a comedy of errors, for sure.
It was, but it was also deliberate in some cases.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. So...
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, and so after they breached the Capitol building, I mean, the timeline's kind of a mess just because we're still trying to piece everything together because, I mean, we have the internet now. Like, we have social media now. Like, everybody who was there was posting on social media. There were senators and their aides posting on social media. And so the timeline's kind of iffy about what exactly happened when. Sometime, at some point, I don't know if it was before they breached the Capitol building or right after. I'm not 100% sure. They evacuated senators. Some went to their offices. Some just hid in the Senate chamber. Some fled the building. And again, this is all coming from social media. I don't know how accurate any of that is. That is just the information that we currently have. There are unconfirmed reports. Again, everything I'm going to say is unconfirmed because it just is at the moment. But I'm going to preface everything with that just in case. So yeah, there are unconfirmed reports that people, that armed rioters were going office to office, essentially hunting senators. There are photographs of people, sitting in the Senate president, like the Senate president's seat, which is the VP. So that where Mike Pence was sitting in the Senate chamber, there are pictures of rioters sitting there. There's a picture of a guy sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk, and he ended up stealing some of her mail. He did get arrested today.
Oh my god, good.
Because he took pictures of, like, classified emails.
Like, sensitive documents.
Some of her mail.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's that picture of that guy who just stole a podium from somewhere within the building. And it was just chaos. Truly, it was. And then punctuated by all of this, there's still Secret Service inside who, their main job is to protect the VP and the senators. That is their only job. Secret Service are not police. They are bodyguards. And I personally think that's a pretty big distinction to be making in this context.
Yes.
The Secret Service did their job. The Capitol Police did not. They just didn't. And so, it was just pure chaos. There's just so many videos and photos and just so much. And, I had just read that Columbine book, like, 2 days before. And so in my head, I was like, and a lot of the rioters also planted pipe bombs around different locations, which is also what the Columbine shooters did. Yeah.
There was one at the DNC and one at the RNC.
Yeah, there's one at the DNC and the RNC, and then I think there was one somewhere else too, but I don't remember. Those were detonated safely, and no one was injured by those. The first person who was shot was a woman named Ashley Babbitt. She was a Trump supporter who had broken into the building. At first, I thought she was shot by Secret Service. It's now been confirmed she was shot by U.S. Capitol Police. I am obviously not happy that people died during this. I also personally don't have as much sympathy for her as I do for somebody like a Black Lives Matter protester who is shot by police. That's just me personally. You're breaking into a government building and attempting a coup. I don't have too much sympathy for you compared to somebody who is peacefully protesting and the police just show up and wreak havoc.
That is the exact response that the police are, basically trained to perform.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have come as a surprise to any of these people that...
No, it shouldn't have.
Their actions were going to be met with deadly force because... Oops, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Because that is... You're breaking into the Capitol.
Exactly. Which, that's another thing I meant to bring up earlier. A lot of people are comparing this to Black Lives Matter protests. There's a huge difference between quote-unquote rioting and looting or whatever of private property and breaking into a government, like the government building.
The government building.
There is a difference. There is a huge difference. And if you can't make that distinction, you're stupid. I'm not mincing any words anymore. I'm so fucking tired of this bullshit. Yeah, and so basically, until the next day, they were still trying to clear people out, and it was just a mess. So, as of right now, I think there have been roughly 70 arrests, which is not nearly enough. One of those arrests, though, is a West Virginia representative, Derek Evans. He broke in. and he was arrested. So that's...
Wait, what do you mean? What?
So he was in West Virginia. I think he's a state rep. Let me check. He was
what the fuck?
part of the
mob.
Yeah, he was part of the West Virginia House of Delegates. He was one of the ones who broke it, who, I don't even know what the right word is. Attacked? Like, I don't know what the right phrasing is for this. But yeah, here, I'm getting this from an NBC News article. He stormed the Capitol is the word that
a West
NBC...
Virginian Republican lawmaker.
Yep, that was him. Yeah, so he's been arrested. So there are calls from mostly Democrat Congress members for Republican Congress members who helped incite this to resign and or be charged with certain things. Because they should be. This was sedition. They should, at the very least, they should resign. They're not going to, but I think that they should.
They should at least be, like, removed from office if they don't resign, because, like, you're supposed to be the lawmakers, and this is what you do.
Yeah, you attempted a coup. That is treason.
Yeah. There's a plan for Monday to introduce impeachment articles with the goal of barring Trump from seeking office in the future. Not of removing him, because there's no point. Well, I think of removing him, but I think that the bigger goal is to bar him from running for office in the future. We'll have to see how that goes, because the Senate, as of right now, is still Republican controlled, and I don't think that's going to change before the turnover to Biden. So there's that.
Well, a lot of his base are flipping on him after this.
They are.
They're incredibly upset about the...
They are, but there's a lot of other people who don't want to take that step because they think it's too extreme for whatever reason. Hopefully that will change. But there's that.
Are we going to talk about the 25th Amendment?
That was my next thing on the list. So, there is an attempt being made to get Vice President Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. So that amendment, in this context, it is invoked when the president is physically incapable of being president. So the only times it's only been used 3 times. It was used, Reagan did it once, and George W. Bush did it twice, and they both did it before medical procedures, where they were going to be, like, unconscious, basically.
Yeah, under general anesthesia.
Yeah. And so they both did it by their own volition. Like, they were the ones who introduced the use of the amendment. And they transferred power over to their VP. I think Bush's were both for only a couple of hours, and Reagan's was for like 8 hours, right? But within that, there's also the power for the VP to remove the president from power involuntarily. It has traction. The thing is, the cabinet has to be the one to institute that. And considering a whole lot of his cabinet members are quitting, and Pence has already said he's not a fan of this plan, we're not thinking that that's going to happen. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. I mean, honestly, it's more likely he is going to be impeached. I would be very surprised if this impeachment was not decided on Monday. The problem is, technically, the congressional chambers are in recess, so McConnell would have to bring the Senate back to decide on it, and it's McConnell, and I know he's trying to, like, distance himself from it, but I don't trust him, so I don't see that happening, personally. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see that happening. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to bring up was pertinent to Shelby's question about why wasn't the FBI there to, like, handle this, right? So, let me find it. U.S. FBI. I'm trying to think of what to Google. So,
mostly it's just because, like, there's videos of them just, like, straight up walking out of the building, and I'm like,
yes,
then
there
why
are
you looking for them now? Like, you knew who they were.
Yeah, so...
Well, there's an FBI tip line that's been set up that says, hey, if you know this person, please
Yeah.
give us their...
So, again, a lot of what I'm about to say, I'm getting from Twitter. So I could be wrong, right? From what I have seen, because the only people who were involved with securing the building was Capitol Police, right?
Uh-huh.
They knew there is evidence that would show, at least, they probably knew this was going to happen ahead of time because this was being planned online. This wasn't a spontaneous thing. This was planned ahead of time. They could have defended the U.S. Capitol wearing riot gear or using more aggressive tactics than they did, and they chose not to. And then there's also that unconfirmed video of the police letting them in and of that police officer taking selfies with the people who broke in.
That one made me so mad.
That was so infuriating.
Yeah, so, I mean, a huge part of the reason why they were able to just go is because the police let them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because they... And this is another thing, 80% of cops voted for Trump. Just throwing that out there.
You're right.
So there's that. Also, what was it? I know Pelosi requested the National Guard be deployed and the Pentagon refused. They ended up having to use National Guard from Virginia. And then Maryland attempted to, but they were also rebuked by some federal government thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but somebody like in the government in Maryland was on the phone with somebody who was in the same room as Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi or somebody, and they were like, why aren't you here? And the people in Maryland were like, we can't be. And so that's part of it too. I might just be pulling this out of nowhere. I feel like different U.S. defense agencies attempted to help with security, but they were rejected by the president, which is why the FBI wasn't there, because the FBI knew that this was going to happen as well, but they're under the control of the federal government.
Yeah.
You know? So a lot of this is, I mean, it's Trump. Trump led this entire thing, and I feel like that fact we haven't really touched on yet. He led this. He congratulated them afterward. He refused to tell them to stop. And, you know, they've been planning this.
Yeah, he told them to go home, but it was so half-assed.
It was so half-assed.
And it was more focused on, like, I'm so proud of what you just did.
Exactly. He said, we love you. Like, what the fuck is that? And so a lot of this is, like, because I've seen people, at least on my own personal Facebook, I've had relatives be like, why, you know, why wasn't there a greater police presence? Like, why didn't the police do this? Why didn't the police do that? It's because Trump told them not to come. And it's because police overwhelmingly support Trump. They let this happen.
Yeah.
Like, U.S. Capitol Police failed in what they were supposed to be doing. And, I mean, it resulted in one of the Capitol Police died horribly. He was beaten over the head with a fire extinguisher and suffered a stroke. You know, while his coworkers were letting people in and taking selfies with them. It's just, it's disgusting, honestly. Like, I still don't have a word for how exactly, like, I am, like, processing all of this. Because, like, we've never been through this before, so I don't have, like, anything to compare it to. But, like, I do not have words for people who, they are just so delusional and yet so sure that they're right. And so, that's another thing that pisses me off. These people are just blatantly wrong, but they're just so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not condescending. Cocky, maybe? I don't know.
Arrogant.
Very
arrogant. That's what I wanted. Thank you. They're so fucking arrogant. so fucking arrogant. And it's like, y'all, you are objectively stupid. Like, don't come in here and try to tell me that you're doing something good here. Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing just pisses me the fuck off. That somebody who, like, this was the action of a tyrannical narcissist who's afraid of losing power. And it is genuinely making me angry that there are people who are still defending him. So, and the actions of other people. So, yeah, I'm just very mad. And I'm very disappointed in a lot of the American public at the moment. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know that what I have said, like, especially in this last part, was very, like, hardline, forceful kind of thing. So if you two do not agree with me about any of that, about my characterization, please say so, because I don't want my statements to represent all three of us. That's just my view into it, because I'm really tired of mincing words and I'm not, like, polite as a rule, but, but
Shannon's a stone cold bitch, and just kidding.
You know what I mean, though. Like, I don't sugarcoat things, because, like, I don't think that's helpful.
No, you're
I'm blunt.
what's the word?
She's very blunt.
Blunt.
Subtlety
Yeah.
is not
No.
Shannon's forte.
No. But yeah, like, I don't want what I'm saying to be, like, the statement of the podcast. You know, so, I mean, obviously, I don't know, I feel like you guys are relatively on board with me being like this, but
I'm good with it.
yeah, I just feel like I talked a lot. But
I'm looking at sofa slip covers. I mean, I am listening. I'm just...
yeah.
I have other things going on, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it, too, is that, like, because I am within, like, the legal realm, it just hits a little bit harder. Oh, that was another thing, real quick. So, real quick. So, there's the Senator Josh Hawley, who, he was the first person, he's senator from Missouri, he was the first person to suggest objecting to the Electoral College certification. He also claimed that Antifa had, like, attacked his home, which did not happen. Many people are blaming him second after Trump for causing this issue. I agree with them personally. The thing is, so I think this happened yesterday. All the days are running together. It was either this morning or yesterday. He was supposed to have a book coming out with Simon & Schuster, which is a publishing company, and they canceled the publishing. They canceled the contract, which is great. But then he posted, let me find it. He tweeted something. Let me find it.
Well, while you're looking for that...
No, I just
wanna
found
say
it.
really quick.
Go ahead. I just found it. But
My dad had the audacity the other day to say that I voted for Josh Hawley. But I don't even think he ran when I lived in Missouri.
no, he didn't.
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, that's your whatever he is. I don't know. Is he a senator? I don't know.
He's a senator.
He's like, that's your senator. And I was like, no, actually.
No?
My senator's even worse.
Yeah. Yeah, so he tweeted, this was yesterday. Okay, sorry. So this is January 7th. I'm gonna... Sorry, I'm just reading through. I'll read the whole thing. So, this is a quote from Josh. It's not long.
We're already an hour and 5 minutes in.
I know.
Who cares?
I'll edit it down. It's fine. Well, actually, I probably won't. So yeah, Josh Hawley said, this could not be more Orwellian. Simon & Schuster is canceling my contract because I was representing my constituents leading a debate on the Senate floor on voting integrity, which they have now decided to redefine as sedition. Let me be clear, this is not just a contract dispute, it's a direct assault on the First Amendment. Only approved speech can now be published. This is the left looking to cancel everyone they don't approve of. I will fight this cancel culture with everything I have. We'll see you in court. So the thing is, Josh Hawley claims to be a constitutional lawyer. And if, like, he is, he's an attorney, he understands the Constitution, Because in law school, you have to take at least one semester of con law. You literally have to. Like, in order to be at an accredited law school, you have to teach, like, every student has to take at least one semester of constitutional law. The First Amendment does not apply to Simon & Schuster. Because Simon & Schuster is not a governmental agency. And the First Amendment only applies to government agencies. So, either he doesn't understand the First Amendment, which is terrifying for somebody who claims to be a constitutional lawyer, or he worded this in a way to manipulate his followers into thinking that he had been wronged on First Amendment grounds. I bet you
that he is the same person who is all for, like, I don't know how to word this, but you know how, like, when people, like, won't make a cake for a couple, like a wedding cake, because they're gay? Mm-hmm. I bet he's the same person who does that, and it's like, it's their First Amendment right, and it's like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, and then
Anyway.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, that's not how the First Amendment works. So, as I said, he's either doesn't understand the First Amendment, which, like, that's basic ass bullshit. If you're a lawyer, you know what the First Amendment applies to. Or he
bullshit.
Is purposely being manipulative in order to rile up his base, which that seems more likely.
Somehow I think that's the option we're going for.
Yeah, but, like, that's easily, like, so many people are just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know that isn't what... Yeah. Because for people who don't know, the First Amendment says that the government cannot control your speech, basically, is what it says. There are exceptions. The most, not famous, but probably the most, like, the best example is, like, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire, right? You can't incite violence. Certain hate speech is limited. Not all. Some of it, though. Stuff like that. But we can say shit about the government without fear of being arrested, is basically what the First Amendment
back
says.
in the day, you weren't allowed to make fun of the king, so when we became a country, we're like, hey, you know what? You're allowed to make fun of the government, and they can't tell you that you can't say certain things.
Yeah.
They can't put you in jail for saying they suck.
They can't do anything to you for saying that they suck. Yes. Simon & Schuster is not the government. They are a private entity. They can do whatever the fuck they want with your speech.
Yup.
So, yeah. That was another thing. I just remembered it. I'm sorry. I meant to bring it up earlier. But yeah, that was another thing that just pissed me off. Like, we need better civics education in this country, because, God.
That's what I do. I do that at the end of the year for my students, is I give them a civics exam, even though I'm an English teacher. I have a whole, and it depends on what state I'm in, but I change it to ask them who their representatives are and who their governor is and stuff. But, yeah, they do not do well on it.
Yeah, no, they don't. Nope. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I just looked up Holly. He was the one who beat Claire McCaskill in 2018, so I don't...
fuck him.
You weren't living in Missouri in 2018, were you?
No.
Yeah, so go yell at your dad.
I know, he was being an idiot.
Yeah.
He's also kind of been predicting this for a long time.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say communist, but that's only because I just interviewed Matthew. This conservative uprising, civil war.
Yeah.
It's not a civil war yet, but he's very concerned about it. He's like, these are the first signs. He's been predicting this for years, and he keeps asking me if I want a gun, and I don't really want a gun. But, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just tell you that my father went through and, like, armed the whole household yesterday. So
yeah.
We're doing great.
Yeah. I think that's it. Sorry this was long, but we also haven't all talked like this in like a month, and then this bullshit happened, so like...
I was gonna say, we haven't done this in a while. We
Yeah.
had to catch up, and then this happened, and so this is our catching up.
Yeah. So...
It's been great.
Oh, I didn't know we were stopping. Thanks for listening to The Triad. Our music is by Scott Buckley. Our audio is recorded by our sound engineers, Craig Bott and Audrey Credo.
If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr as the Triad Podcast. Our website is thetriadpodcast.wordpress.com. There, you can find information about our latest episode, including the show notes and sources.
We're also on Patreon as The Triad. Currently, all Patreon funds will go towards the cost of hosting the show. Each tier has its own rewards, but every patron receives our undying gratitude. Do you have comments, questions, or stories? Email us at thetriadpod@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening to The Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive.